All right, thank you all for joining us this morning. My name is Gina Sudam. I'm the president of the Wyoming County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm honored this morning that we are joined by our three county commissioners. We have Ernie King, Rick Wilbur, and Tom Henry with us this morning. Good morning, gentlemen. And we are going to talk a bit about the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant this morning. But before we do that, I want to mention a few other grants that are about to reopen. One is the Small Business Advantage Grant. So you'll remember that was open in the beginning of July. That is the one that you apply for through Metro Action. And that will reopen on August 10th and will stay open this time until August 28th. Again, you'll go to metroaction.org to apply for that. And I see the lovely Senator Lisa Baker has joined us. Good morning, Lisa. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
How you doing, Lisa?
Hi. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And as I was saying, the COVID relief, the statewide small business assistance program, that will reopen through metroaction.org on August 10th. That information will be found in our newsletter today. Allison is busy getting that out today. And if you have any questions, I have helped a few different businesses to apply for that grant. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me either by phone or email. Again, gina@wyccc.com, or the phone here at the office is 570-836-7755. So that is our state program. I want to mention the PA30dayfund.com. That is available for-profit businesses with 3 to 30 employees that have been in Pennsylvania operating for at least 1 year, and they must be owned and operated by a Pennsylvania resident. That money is a very quick turnaround. So usually between the time you apply and the time you are confirmed that you received the grant, it is within a week. So it's a very quick turnaround. The funding for that is, the grant funds are $1,000 to $3,000. So again, that's a quick help relief grant, privately funded money. And then, of course, PPP you all know about, you've heard about tremendously. We are looking to schedule another PPP forgiveness webinar as we get more information from the banks about what they actually need and what they will want from you for forgiveness. So we are looking to do that hopefully later this month. And then EIDL, I believe, is still open, and there's some flexibility there as far as what types of businesses. So I know agriculture businesses are now eligible for EIDL, where they weren't, again, in those first couple rounds. So let's get into the reason we're all here this morning to talk about the COVID County Relief Block Grant. And again, I'm joined by our county commissioners. And we want to just discuss this grant. The county received $2.4 million, and we're looking to offset revenue and direct expenses with about that $2.1 million. And let's talk about the application process and the applications that are you getting a good response so far to this program?
Yes, we are. We've gotten, as of yesterday, 165 requests for applications, and we have 101 back in. And I haven't checked my email yet this morning because I haven't been in the office, but I imagine that's gone up since then. So yeah, we're getting a great response.
Great. So you've had 101 applications returned back. Is that correct? What I just heard?
That is correct, yes.
Wonderful.
We did a lot of advertising. I think that everybody knows about it, or most people do anyway, so it's looking good.
Right. So let's share a little bit about some of those qualifications. So it is, again, for small businesses, less than 100 employees, But it can be for nonprofits as well. Nonprofits, 501c3 and 501c19 organizations.
That is correct. And our nonprofits that aren't a C3 or a C19, if they have a business and are organized, say, as a 6 or a 7, they're still eligible because they fall into the business category. So they have employees, even though they're not a 3 or 19, they're still eligible. And there was a little confusion about that, but we did get clarification. So.
Terrific. And then another thing that I think there was some confusion about in the beginning of all of this was whether or not those who have received PPP and EIDL should apply. So let's maybe talk that through a little bit, because I think that was something that I heard from our business community was, well, I received a good amount in my EIDL loan, or my PPP is really getting me through right now. So I don't know that I want to take the funding that the county has away from another business, right? So I've heard that. Let's talk about that a little bit.
When it originally came out, anybody that got PPP or the loans, they were not eligible. It's just straight out. There was nothing about any amounts that they received or anything. If they had gotten that help, they were not eligible. I know Lisa was one of the ones that pushed, so did Karen, so did we, and kept inquiring, like, why? If someone lost $50,000 and got $10,000 in help, why can't we help them for that $40,000 that's there? And especially if they got a loan that had to be paid back. I mean, it's not like they got free money. Well, finally, they changed the rules, and they changed it to say that those who did not receive help get preference. And that kind of opens it up to interpretation, however you want it to be. So we're treating it that if you got PPP or you got a loan, that you still are eligible for help. And we're taking the stand if the difference is what we can help you with. We're still trying to get clarification if we have to include what has got to be paid back or not. If it doesn't have to be paid back, I still don't see why it has to be kind of subtracted out from the total we can help people out with. But we'll see how that works out. That's a question that we're waiting on the answer on DCED from.
Many of the restaurants and stuff that got that PPP didn't realize that they were going to be cut again. With the only 25%.
That's killed people.
Oh, it has. I mean, there's restaurants in towns that's lost $500,000, and it's really, really a struggle, and they're really having a hard time going. So we're hoping that we can still help. You know what I mean? Like, even though they receive PPP. So.
Definitely, because they still have their costs, right? So that's what I'm hearing from our businesses, of course, that
me too.
we can of course cut costs as much as we can, right? But there's certainly those fixed costs, as you know, running a business. There's payroll if again the restaurant is trying to stay open. They have payroll costs, but workers' comp costs is very high for restaurants. And I think that is something that a lot of our small businesses are, looking at their insurance expenses right now and thinking, that's a big one for them. And certainly they can't let that lapse, especially in a time like this. So that's
hard for them to stay open.
Yeah.
You're good. I mean, just at a 25% capacity, not knowing how many people to keep in the shop or in the restaurant, and I just see them all struggling, and this would be such a help if
Yes, so I would encourage everyone to apply. The application process is fairly simple. You're going to email wycopa.org to receive that application. That application is sent to you almost immediately. There's not someone watching that email address, all day, every day, but within 24 hours, right, that the application is sent out to you. And it really does not take long to fill out. If you have any questions, you can email right back to that email address and they answer your questions, or you can, of course, call if you don't have email and need the application in another manner. So they will print it and bring it to you. I know they've worked very closely with many people trying to get them the application. So I think that's great. What else do you gentlemen want to discuss about that block grant program right now? And then we'll talk about some of the other assistance programs that are available.
Okay. The deadline as of today is the 14th, which is a week from this Friday for applications. But I think it's going to be extended maybe a week or even 2 weeks. We want to get the money out as quickly as we can. But we had a seminar on Tuesday afternoon, the three of us all attended, and that was with DCNR. And because it's such a brand new program, they keep changing the rules on us, which is kind of frustrating. And we wanted to get a head start on everybody, so we started taking applications before most counties did, just so that we could be as proactive as we possibly could to get the funds out. Well, now that we've got a bunch of applications in and we're almost ready to do something, they're changing some of the rules on us. And what they've decided to do, they are sending a representative out to spend some time with us to make sure we're doing everything absolutely right, because the worst thing we want to do is to give a grant to someone and then we find out we didn't follow all the DCNR rules. They say, hey, you got to give the money back. And that would kill you guys and it would kill us too. So because of that, the time frame that they're going to come out, I requested them to come and see us early next week. I was about 5 minutes after I got the email I sent in, and hopefully we'll be the first on the list to come and see, and maybe we can keep our deadline the 14th. But we need some time to make sure that we adhere to all the rules, and we want to help everybody, and we certainly don't want to give you any surprises after everything's over, because we have a whoops. That's where we're at with that.
Absolutely.
So it may change. We will advertise that. We'll get it out there, at least on Facebook, and let people know that it's being extended. We'll have it on our website, but right now it's the 14th.
Great. And there are some other programs that are available as well. And this is more residential, but there is a rent relief program. Do you want to take some time to talk about that program?
I know that the CEO is handling that for us.
Okay.
CEO, and they've been advertising also in the papers. There's a direct phone line to call. And I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me, but I know Mike Donahue in the courthouse is helping with that also.
Okay.
And his line is 570-996-2209.
Great.
So he's helpful with the CEO grant too, but we're letting the people that deal with homes on a regular basis handle that, because they know what they're doing and they've got a good handle on that. But there's definitely funds available.
And we've gotten several applications into the CARES grant program, which we're handling the CARES directly. Right. And then we have others that are handling the other programs, of course. We're letting the experts handle that. And we're just handing them over to Mike, who's handing them over to the CEO. So I mean, it's pretty seamless. If it
Sure.
comes to us and we CARES, that's going to be gone before the day's out and in the right hands to handle it for you.
Very good. Very good. So again, you're encouraging everyone to apply, and talk a little bit about, so municipalities were also eligible for direct expenses as they related to COVID, not loss of revenue, but direct expenses. So are they to apply through the same WeCare application?
Yes, they were. Out of the 165 we've had that have asked, there were 3 or 4 municipalities, mainly things like cleaning, if they had to have extra employees to do things like that. What if you had expenses during the election because of COVID? So they're turning in for that. It's not a huge amount of money for any of them yet, but we can help them through the program. But I hear through the grapevine that the next wave, if it ever gets through, includes a provision in there that money can be used to recover lost revenue for the county and municipalities. Right now, the county isn't eligible for that either. And there's something else, and I was talking to Fred Keller last week, that there's a possibility that they may change the rules on this grant that we're talking about now, the CARES, so we may be able to use a little bit of that money to recover revenue from municipalities in the county. But again, that's up in the air. And as I said, it's a new program. It changes quickly. It's definitely in flux. There's no doubt about it. So
it definitely does. So we have a question here, and I know that I had a business owner ask this question to me yesterday as well. And the question is, since they have applied through the WeCare program, they're still only at 12% of their typical revenue. So many applied when we first talked about this program, which was, I believe, the end of June. So they only had their numbers through the end of June. And, businesses are still operating at a loss. This one in particular is saying, they're still only at 12% of their typical revenue. Do you need businesses, or do you want businesses to continue to provide you with updates of what
Absolutely.
their losses are?
What we're asking, and as I said, we started this real quick when we got the information about the program, and we weren't 100% sure what we could do either. So what we're asking now, any of the newer people that are applying, is to give us through the end of July what your actual losses were, and give us an estimate from then to the end of December. This program only goes to the end of December, then it's done, and all money has to be spent we have to have the checks out by the end of December. So you can certainly give us estimates on what your losses were and send in amendments. I've gotten about 7 amendments in the last week. A lot are sending them in. So absolutely, and we'll just change the file and add that to it.
Very good. So, but you are hoping to get this monies in the hands of our businesses sooner rather than later, correct? We're not going to wait until December to issue checks on this?
If we can help it.
And yeah,
No.
as soon as we talk to DC or DCED, when they come in to meet with us and we know that we are meeting all their rules and we're not going to get you guys in trouble, we're not going to get in trouble, then we are going to sit down after the deadline, decide how many have applied and how much money we have each to spend. Then checks are going to start going out. The checks are ordered, or actually they're sitting there waiting to write, but we just have to come up with the final plan on how it's going to get dispersed.
Very good. And do you guys have anything else? I would love to hear an update from Lisa if you have time for one. But I don't want to cut, what we had here with the commissioners short at all. So what else is going on in the county? First, maybe you could give us kind of an overview. I know Ernie posted yesterday evening about our numbers in the county. So do you want to talk about that a little bit, where our numbers are at in Wyoming County and how
But
we're...
Ernie, he's been posting almost daily with that and updating everybody. He's been taking on that responsibility for us. So what happened?
I don't know. Are we still on? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. July was not a good month. We had a number of cases come up, about 24 in July. However, since first part of August now, things have been settling down again. We still are in very good shape as far as the nursing facilities, the prison, and other institutions that have been the forefront of this problem nationwide. And we've been keeping that under control. We are in pretty good shape with PPE. Our emergency people have good supplies right now of everything, and availability of more if we need it. So right now we're staying ahead of the curve again. We were kind of concerned there in July because right after everything went green, the cases went up quite a bit. But hopefully we're over that hump now and things are going to settle down. So right now that's where we're at. We're still keeping daily eye on every institution, and everyone knows that we have immediate access to any requirements as far as PPE is concerned. The ambulances are all well stocked on everything. So that's our concern. I mean, that's our reaction at this time, and let's hope that the downgrade in number of cases that came about after August the 1st will continue. So that's where we're at.
Tommy, you have any?
Gina, there's 58 cases with 3 pending, and we have 8 deaths. That's the number part of it too. So it's been a little scary, but we're still doing things in the courthouse and of all of our other buildings, the jail, the CNY. We're doing things still by appointment only. We're still taking every precaution. We're taking temperatures as they come in the courthouse. So whatever we're doing seems to be working. So we're afraid to differ from that. So, so we're one day at a time here, but we're doing okay. A lot of people in town are really following the suggestions too, and a lot of the businesses. I'm just grateful because without all of us doing the right thing here, we could be in a lot more worse shape. So.
Yes, and I want to take a minute, and there are some questions coming in, and I would encourage you to put those in the chat. I'll get to those in just 1 second, but I do want to take a minute to commend all of our business owners for being aware, right? And for putting up signs and asking people to wear masks, and our businesses and their employees for wearing masks. We know that for many of you, it is difficult in what you do to work in businesses with temperatures that are climbing, right? We've had some really hot days lately, and it can be excruciating to wear a mask, but we know, as research has shown, that it does protect people. So I would encourage you to keep those signs up, to encourage people to wear a mask. If they can't wear a mask, to find an alternative way to serve them. So curbside service, but again, ask people, make sure that people are wearing a mask when they come into your business. That is how we're going to curb this. And again, even when you are outside, I know it's uncomfortable to wear a mask outside, but if you cannot properly social distance in an outside gathering, we really need to be wearing a mask there as well. But I think, I think we've done a good job in our county, and I'm very proud of our business community. And if you have or are struggling as a business to find proper cleaning or proper PPE, please reach out to the chamber. We do have some access to businesses that can provide you with PPE and proper cleaning solutions and so on. So please reach out to us if you are having any problems with that. I know that was difficult in the beginning. The question that we're getting right now is how are we handling landlords who are not able to collect rents right now, and they're not able to evict due to the legal resource by our governor, but recourse, I'm sorry, by our governor. They can't evict for non-payment, but they're losing money. Our landlords locally are losing a lot of money. Are they able to apply for this county relief block grant?
Absolutely, they are,
Correct.
yes.
Yep.
And also the rent relief program, the money can go to a landlord, so they should go there first and see if they can get that replaced. And if they have people that are behind on the rent and they qualify because they have a reduction in their income, the money actually goes direct to the landlord. It does not go to the tenant, it goes to the landlord. And Mike can answer any of those
Right,
questions.
and that's a problem too. If they have to be willing to work with their tenant, they need to sign off on the paperwork too. If their tenant goes for the $750 a month rent rebate, they have to sign off on that. So if they're aware of how that works, they can ask Mike or ask CEO. That'll make it a lot quicker for them. So if they work together with their tenants, that'll happen much easier and quicker. So,
But and again, I kind of misspoke there. We have asked the question of DCED if landlords are eligible for the CARES grant, because that's more aimed for businesses. But if you have a business that you're doing rentals, common sense says that's a business.
Right.
But I'm hoping to have further guidance on that very, very soon. That was another question that was asked. And they're going to come up with a huge list of FAQs. I guess they got hundreds of questions throughout the state, and they're going to be publishing them in the next couple of days. So that should answer some of our questions, I'm hoping.
They can go ahead and apply.
You can certainly apply. Absolutely. Send it in. We care at wycopa.org. And then when we find out if you are eligible,
Right.
Common sense says you are, but that doesn't always rule.
Right. So I again, it's the Commission on Economic Opportunity, the CEO, and that's for the rent relief program. So I would encourage, again, tenants and landlords to discuss that program first, and then again, apply through the County Relief Block Grant. There's a question about is a nonprofit only eligible for the grant, the first one you mentioned. So nonprofits are eligible for PPP and EIDL. And then they are also eligible for the County Relief Block Grant. So again, email weCare@wycopa.org, and nonprofits can receive that application as well.
That is great.
Are there any other questions? Again, you can type them in. That would be great. We are quickly approaching the 9:30 hour, and I know our commissioners have another meeting coming up, so I want to be aware of their time. They're always heading off to the next thing. But if you have questions, feel free to type them in there. And Senator, do you have a few moments that you could give us a quick update on what's happening in Harrisburg?
Absolutely. I want to thank the commissioners for their diligence related to the CARES funding. One of the things that the General Assembly did was to allocate the money to the counties in a block grant fashion, because I think each county has a better handle on how they can distribute within the needs of their particular community. And I want to commend them for the great job that they're doing. And I appreciate getting a sense that the lines are moving with DCED. And if there's anything that you would like us to do in terms of reaching out for other clarification, I'm happy to do that if you're not getting the kinds of answers you're looking for. I know that can be very, very frustrating. And it's challenging because, as the commissioner said, the money must be allocated and spent under the federal requirement by December 31st. So this is a very tight time frame, and I give kudos to them for recognizing the need to get the money out as quickly as possible. You alluded to Congressman Keller mentioning potentially that could change. Right now, none of this money may be used to backfill holes in the budgets of counties and even the state government, for that matter. And so we at the state level are looking at the potential of a $4 or $5 billion deficit. We did, as many of you may recall, a preliminary budget that is through the end of November, with the exception of certain categories like schools. They got a full year amount of funding. So we are going to have to revisit our budget at the state level. One thing that everybody has asked me about the CARES money, there is still $1 billion in budgetary reserves that the General Assembly and the governor have to allocate. And I had hoped that would have been done before we left in July. There were some challenges with that, and it didn't get completed. So some of the categories that we're continuing to look at, and for the business owners, it's important. We'll continue to keep you advised once that's done, but additional resources potentially for the business community, for healthcare and health-related industries, for tourism and hospitality. I continue to hear many challenges from that, and from higher education. So those are the general categories that we were talking about. If the federal government changes the requirement, that could change how it's distributed. But when we return to session, that is a top priority for us to allocate out that $1 billion. It was held in budgetary reserve to see where the needs continued to be. So once the counties did their authorizations, there may be unmet needs. And so it was intended to hold a little back so that we had resources for the future. The other thing that I would mention to those of you who are on the call, 3 of my colleagues and I have introduced legislation to create a limited COVID liability protection law during this pandemic for business premises, for those who are using PPE and manufacturing that, for those in the healthcare industry. it's not a blanket waiver on liability full blown. It would be limited if you are following CDC guidelines. If you're doing what's expected and appropriate, it would give that limited liability protection. And so that has been introduced. I've been getting a lot of calls and questions from businesses, people concerned, you know, am I going to get sued if someone says they're the cause of me potentially getting COVID. So it's an important piece of legislation, and we're looking at that in the fall as well. So the other thing I would say, if any of your folks or people you're aware of continue to have unemployment compensation challenges, I know there are still some people struggling to get through that process. My staff and I have been working to help navigate that and expedite it for individuals who are having challenges. So with that is the update that I have for you, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Well, Lisa, first and foremost, thank you so much for introducing the business liability legislation. I think that is obviously, besides financial troubles, that's the next thing, right? That our business community is very concerned with, and as they should be. I think there are already lawyers, there are already lawsuits suing businesses over, you know, I contracted COVID at your place of business and now you owe me money. And I think it's a really terrible thing for these businesses to have to face, given they're already facing such a big loss, economic loss and revenue. So that business liability protection will be very huge for them. And again, I want to reiterate, this is why it's important to follow those PPE standards, the CDC guidelines, because if you're not following those CDC guidelines in your business, this legislation will not protect you, even, you know, after it's passed, because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing with those, following those CDC guidelines. They're so important right now. And they're important not only to protect the people coming in, your customers, but to protect you as a business owner and to protect your staff, because the last thing you want is your staff to get sick and you to have to shut down your entire business because you have no one to work at your business. So again, I would say, please follow those CDC guidelines. Please be respectful of each other, be kind, and wear your mask. Lisa, I think what you are doing in the legislation that you proposed is very important, and I want to thank you so much again for joining us and giving us that update this morning.
You're welcome, and I continue to provide an electronic news update on a very regular basis. So I know, Gina, you've been sharing that, and the commissioners, thank you for sharing that with others. So any questions people have, challenges they're facing, please let us know. We're trying to work, like many of you, remotely or by appointment or however we do that, but we're still here open for business, and you know, need to hear what you're facing and how we can be of assistance. So Gina, thanks so much for inviting me to be part of it. Commissioners, thanks for all your hard work, and to all the business leaders, thanks for what you're doing. Have a great day. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you to our county commissioners for being with us this morning. I think, again, we've had some great discussions, and I hope that if you have not requested your application through WYCOPA.org, that you will do that. I also just got a chat message from our friends at the Wyoming County Extension, at Penn State Extension. If they can be of any help to any of your businesses, please reach out. They have various resources available up there. I know they would be happy to help you with grant programming. They also help with agriculture. So if you're in the agriculture business, they have resources to help you with that as well, and may know of other programs that I am not aware of, again, to help you in that realm. So thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you again, Senator, and thank you to our county commissioners.
Take care, everybody.
Okay,
Thanks for being
thank
here.
you.
Have a great day. Stay well.
You too.
Wrong way.